Hi there, my name is Tom and I'm the Assistant Artistic Director Maternity Cover for Stopgap Dance Company. I have a few questions here that I'm going to do my best to answer. The first one is, how can I best implement improvisation assignments in my online lessons without being able to guide and support the process of each individual? So I use for the stimulus for improvisation, when I'm teaching online, I use a lot of images and videos. Of course, Google is full of images and videos that you can, share your screen and ask students to take a look at something, or give them a link to a YouTube video. I think it's quite fun actually to look for images online. There's some brilliant, good quality images available. So I really recommend doing that. I also encourage, I kind of set up solo projects to encourage students to develop their own practice in improvisation. And of course at this time it's kind of solo improvisation, but I think to develop a practice of improvisation, I think is really helpful, so you can kind of be your own guide through improvisation, or start to learn to be. And part of those solo projects is often journaling, so just writing down your experience, if you've danced for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, to spend a bit of time writing or even drawing, and then maybe returning back to moving. That's kind of from a authentic movement framework of improvising, that you would move. And then have a rest where you can write or reflect, and then go back into moving. When I do live video classes, I sometimes speak a score, so I'll be speaking and giving instructions. So instead of the students watching me, I'm just making invitations to them to take their awareness into different places, or have some improvisational tasks, and then they are not just copying me or thinking that I have all the answers. They start to look for their own answers, and at the same time I can, if using a platform like Zoom, I can see what they're doing and kind of encourage them at the right time to kind of explore certain things a bit more, or to move on, or to start to become aware of habits, for example, because I can see them and feedback live. So I like using the video where I'm just speaking, and they're not copying me or watching me, but I can watch them and give feedback and information like that. And I said before, but I think a personal practice, that could be a daily practice of moving even 10 minutes, and then maybe writing some notes about how that was, what you enjoyed, what was challenging, what was surprising, what you learnt, and that can be kind of built up to even half an hour or an hour, depending on the students that you're working with. So the next question: how do I handle assignments for people with different cognitive and physical levels without seeing the people in front of me? What I found is really helpful working with diverse students is to set up individual check-ins, and that's then I can give kind of individual, tailored, clear and personal instruction, as well as getting feedback from the student to say how they're doing, what they're enjoying, where their interest is, what they're struggling with. And I think it's, for me, a big guide in my interest in moving and dancing is my own interest. What am I interested in? What am I curious about? And to have a dialogue with a student like that, where you can ask them what they're really enjoying, or what they're really interested in at the moment, is a brilliant way to kind of tailor or to give us kind of individual feedback, or build projects that then, if you're coming back into a group setting where there's lots of people, each individual will have more of an idea of what they're working on, what their focus is. Yeah. What tips and tools can I give my students online so that they also get the right challenge at home and ultimately experience the feeling of success? I guess I would first of all check in with support. Is the student getting enough support? That could be from me, or from their peers. Also at home, what support is available at home with, for example, parents or carers. I'm doing my best at the moment not to try to replicate studio practice. We're not in the studio. We would all love to be in the studio, but we're not able to, especially perhaps as we move more into the back into the studio, there will be those perhaps more vulnerable that will not be able to go back into the studio straight away. I don't want to spend time wishing I was somewhere that I'm not. So I'm at home and I'm practicing, and I think that's a really important point. Studio practice and home practice are different, and home practice doesn't have to be the same as studio practice. So perhaps that gives me a bit of freedom to tailor or give more specific exercises or programs to individuals. And I think the feeling of success often involves being able to talk about the difficulties that you're having. For example, I think everybody's had some difficulty in kind of interacting through technology, and to make a platform where people can kind of talk about that, say, oh God, actually I find it really difficult. And I think giving permission for something difficult, I think that kind of breeds understanding. So both people understand each other, and I think that's a helpful point that everybody can move forward from. And the last question: if I teach metaphorically, for example, leading everyone through improvisation through imagery, but there are students who have lost their hearing, what would I do to solve that? So I think there's lots of technology that's available to us at the moment to help express meaning. Doesn't always just have to be through sound. If you're recording, for example, a class and you can put it up on YouTube, there's an option on YouTube where you can activate subtitles for students to read. They are not always accurate, but you can also edit them. You can edit the subtitles so that they're more accurate. If you're asking for example, a particular quality, as I mentioned before, YouTube is a brilliant resource where you can look at videos for images, or particularly moving images. If I'm, for example, I have a class where I talk about the quality of pouring melting chocolate, and there's videos on YouTube for that that show that, and that's a brilliant way to kind of express meaning, that I don't have to tell someone what to do. They can see an image, and then somehow in their body they understand it a lot better than perhaps you would through words, even if you're someone that isn't that is a hearing student. And also I found that using poetry or literature, for example, can be a great way to communicate meaning. So I might not be the most kind of imaginatively descriptive with what I'm asking my students to do, but I might find a poem or perhaps a passage from a book that really communicates what I'm trying to express or to communicate to my students. For equality, for example, I'm looking for them to find in their dancing. So I think there's, through image, through video, through poetry and literature, there's lots and lots of ways, as well as technology. The subtitle function on some video platforms is all really helpful for working with students that have lost their hearing or hearing impaired. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks a lot. I hope that was helpful. Bye bye.